The topic of this video is, if new law is so great, why aren't clients buying it? Hello, my name is Ted Dwyer. I'm a consultant to the professional services industry with a specific expertise in the legal sector. I've worked with large, small, medium-sized law firms, legal teams, in-house legal teams, individual lawyers, as well as other companies within the professional services space for over 20 years. And before that, I was actually a practicing lawyer myself. This video is free. It's meant to provoke discussion, so please feel free to leave, hopefully polite, comments below. You can also access training videos that I've prepared. You can access them for absolutely no charge on my website, teddwyer.com.au. All you have to do is to subscribe and you'll receive them in an email or be able to access them. And you'll be able to claim points under the rules of your relevant association. Anyway, back to the video. If new law is so great, why aren't clients buying it? Well, firstly, what I'd like to say is I have great respect for anyone who sets up a law firm, particularly those who are trying to deliver legal services differently when they set up their business. The simple fact of the matter is, setting up a law firm, particularly if you're in a common law world, and particularly if you're in Australia, by the way, is very high risk these days. Just as an example, I am based in Sydney. I travel around Asia Pacific and other parts of the world, but I'm based in Sydney, which is in New South Wales in Australia, for those of you who are watching this outside Australia. In the state of New South Wales, there are over 5,000 law firms these days. What's little known by many people is that 97% of them are what we call sole practitioners. That is to say, only one person owns the firm. And in fact, if you go out into regional New South Wales or indeed regional Australia, you will often find clusters of very small firms around, say, a major town, all offering exactly the same services, which of course makes it very hard for each one of those firms to be profitable. So anyone who sets up a law firm, from my point of view, deserves huge respect. This is particularly the case, as I said before, for those who want to do it differently. Particularly, say, the founders of what we call new law firms. They have exactly the right mindset for what is happening in the legal services sector, which is facing incredible challenges and will require innovative and entrepreneurial approaches more and more as time goes on. In fact, I think a lot of these founders of new law firms will end up being the leaders of larger offerings in the future, but that's another story. So I respect anyone who does it, and it's very high risk in nature, and the spirit that these people are bringing, the approach, is exactly the right approach for the future. You're probably thinking there's a big but coming up, and you're right, but I think with the hype of new law, we need to really cut through that and accept some basic facts. Firstly, what is new law? Well, for me, it depends on who you speak to, but for me, new law is the idea that legal practice, because can be done differently, delivered to clients in a way which gives them a new choice, a new approach compared to their current offering. Now, there are different ways that new law firms say that they disrupt the current market. For instance, they do it through technology. They do it through pricing. So they don't ask their lawyers, for instance, to record time. They don't use time billing as a pricing mechanism. They will offer, say, fixed fee pricing to give clients predictability. They also will say, well, look, we're more modern. We do work because of technology. Our people can do work remotely. We have flexible work practices. We also manage work with our clients' best interests in mind. Okay? So if you look at it, they're sort of disruptive levers which distinguish, in the argument of a new law advocate, them from what they would say is a more traditional staid offering that that doesn't give clients the same benefits or the same advantages that a new law offering can. So, there's no strict definition of new law, but from my point of view, but it's more distinguishing from the traditional way legal services are delivered. Okay. Back to those pesky facts, though. Now, we were all promised when new law came out, in the last few years, we've been promised repeatedly that the attraction of this new way of doing things will eventually lead to the switching of clients from traditional offerings, whether that's a small or a large firm, to these new law offerings. That the benefits, if you will, would be too much for new clients to overcome. Well, what are the facts on the ground? Well, firstly, and I say this because I've been working in the space for a long, long time. Okay. One, new law isn't really new. Now, many of you probably would be under the impression that the new law firms that have emerged in the last 2-3 years are the first of their kind. Well, that's not true. I'll give you an example. In Australia, and I know there are other examples from other countries, in Australia there was a new law firm, definitely was brand new in concept, called Optim Legal, set up by a person who I regard as a pioneer in this, Nick James. Which was offering all these different benefits to clients that I've just already described. And they were doing that in 2007, 2008, so quite some time ago. Now, this is a really great operation. Top lawyers, very high quality individuals from often trained in leading law firms, using technology, remote working, flexible pricing models, in order to try and supply legal services or shape legal services to clients in a way that they thought clients would benefit from or value more highly than what they were currently offering. So Optim Legal was around for a long time. New law has been around for over a decade. It's not as new as it is being promoted. The second point that I want to raise, and this is a controversial issue, but I'm going to say it anyway, even if I get criticised, I don't really care. All the innovation that has happened in the legal sector, particularly in Australia, has happened in the large law firms. Now, I know some of you are dropping your coffee, spilling it all over your suits or your clothes. You can't believe what I just said, but it's true. And I know it's true because I've worked in all these large law firms and I've seen it happen with my own eyes, particularly on projects that I've been working on. Okay? Large law firms are not perfect. There are many issues which you can criticise them for and which they get criticised for. The owners of large law firms would never claim that they are perfect. However, when it comes to technology, when it comes to pricing, when it comes to understanding client needs, when it comes to flexible work practices, when it comes to managing work, in all those disruptive levers that I've described, okay, and I'm not saying they've done it perfectly, large law firms have been hammering away at those for over 2 decades. We're talking over 20 years now. They are the engine houses of innovation in the legal sector. That is not to say that they are better. It's not to say that large law firms are great and have no need to change anything they do. Not at all. Okay? But the reality is, it is them doing the innovation. Okay? Whether they do it poorly or bad doesn't matter. They're doing it. And there's a good reason why they can do it better. It's simply this: deep pockets. That is to say, if you're going to really invest in cutting-edge technology, if you're going to really look at the way you manage particular types of work effectively in a way that actually resonates and you deliver for a long period of time, if you're really going to look at all the different pricing models and try to understand what is the best one for your clients and for your business, if you're going to really look at flexible work practices within your teams, okay, you need deep pockets. You need to be able to consult outside experts. You need to be able to invest in the hardware and the knowledge required to actually execute those disruptive or innovative levers effectively, okay, on a sustained basis. Now, that can only really be done by the larger law firms. And it's interesting, almost all of the founders of new law firms, so-called new law firms, come from these environments. Okay? They may not be happy, they may have reached a point where they want to leave, fair enough, but they come from that environment and want to do something differently themselves. Okay? So, first thing, new law really isn't that new. Two, most innovation is being done in the larger firms, I'm afraid, not the new law firms. And thirdly, and this is perhaps most significant of all, why is it that these new law providers aren't really having the success that I think they assumed, and certainly that was promoted and discussed. It has been under discussion for quite some time now. Why is it that clients are not adopting new law legal firms or new law organisations in the way that was expected? Well, perhaps, I'm just saying, perhaps the owners or the founders of these firms are assuming that the fact that they are doing law differently, are assuming that the benefits they are going to provide to clients, okay, for instance, we use technology more effectively, we do not time bill, we use flexible working practices, we believe in the same things that you do, we're more progressive, we're more modern than traditional legal service offerings. We manage work more effectively. Perhaps those benefits, which a lot of the founders of new law firms assume are going to be valued by big clients in a way that causes those clients to switch from their traditional offerings, well, perhaps that's not the case. The assumptions, perhaps, are not correct. What I'm saying is perhaps large or high quality clients do not value those benefits. Maybe they don't value them yet, but do not value them now in the way that, say, the founders of new law firms assumed they would. In other words, clients aren't switching. Okay, so they may be three reasons why clients are not really adopting new law organisations as much as many thought they would. One, new law isn't really new. Two, the innovation is not really happening, has traditionally always been in the large firms. And three, clients, the benefits that the founders of new law organisations are assuming clients will use to switch aren't the benefits that those clients value as much as other benefits they're receiving from their traditional legal service providers. And this brings us to a key point. Okay? And I've said this in other videos too. The best law firms, the best legal teams, the ones that are really ahead of the game, the one thing they have, which I've noticed, and it's cross countries too, I've noticed this in the UK, I've noticed this in Australia, and in the US, is they have a far better understanding of the benefits their high quality clients value the most from their external legal service providers. What do I mean by that? Well, it's an exercise you have to go through. You have to go through from a team level. Okay? You find out who are your high quality clients. You have to discuss with each other, what is a high quality client? Is it one that just pays the bills, or what is it about them that makes them high quality? And then you have to find out, what are the benefits they value? You don't go to them and say, we do this and you must value that. No, you find out, and there are different ways of doing that. What is it that each client benefits the most? In other words, why are they using us as opposed to other providers? Or, if you want to look at it negatively, if we don't supply benefits A, B, C, and D, what are the benefits that we must provide if we don't want to lose them? Okay? So we can talk about disruption and disruptive levers in legal practice all day. I mean, I love technology and the impact it's having on legal services. Okay? But we have to come back to how well do we really understand our clients? Because once you understand the benefits they value, you can then shape your service around those benefits. And that's what the top firms are doing, whether we're talking about a small firm, large firm, medium-sized firm. Okay? I'll give you an example. You can go to any client if you're a new law provider, you can go to a client, a corporation, and they'll always talk to you. They'll be interested in the fact that you are saying, well, we do things differently. We regard ourselves as new law, as a new way of doing legal practice. And we think you can benefit from that. Of course, they'll meet with you and want to talk to you if they have, if they're reasonably sophisticated. They want to know. Okay? However, that same person, it doesn't mean they're going to switch. Okay? That same person might value other benefits which they're already receiving from, say, a large firm more highly than the benefits that you assume are going to make them switch. It's interesting, when you deal with very large law firms and you speak to the clients that use them, as I do, there's a whole list of benefits that I don't think a lot of firms realise that clients value. It might be something like, the availability of the team, the responsiveness of that team, the continuity of the team. We don't like people leaving. We want one team that understands the way we do things. Okay? It might be technical expertise, although that's probably down the list these days. They would assume they're going to get that for the price they're being charged. It may be pricing, or maybe it's differential pricing. Well, we don't want to time build work for this type of work that we're giving you, but for others, we might be open to that. It may be access to senior lawyers. It may be training. It may be social entertainment. Right? There's a whole list of different benefits, and it's up to you to go and find out for each of your high-quality clients what that list is and rank the benefits according to what the client tells you. That's far more innovative because it means that you are understanding them and then using these new developments, say technology, to better deliver those benefits to clients, which differentiates you in their mind and explains why they will stick with you and not switch. Okay? So I guess what I'm saying is it's good to talk about new law. New law is a fascinating area. If we're talking about delivering, knowing, understanding clients better and delivering services more effectively to those clients. Okay? I'd really love it if we could get away, particularly in the media and other places, from simplistic narratives and distinctions between firms. And I'll give you an example, okay? This idea that there's a big law and there's new law. Okay? Right, big law is big law firm, establishment, monolithic, inefficient, too expensive, full of slaves that work underneath the building, churning out billable hours, okay? This caricatured idea of a large law firm does not help the discussion. Typically, in a similar vein, new law, as I've described, we need to be very careful about ascribing to new law organisations, okay, all the positive stuff. When we start using these simplistic narratives or simplistic distinctions, okay, we can lead to negative outcomes. For instance, the idea that, the fact that attributes that are ascribed to those simplistic groupings don't really correspond with reality. As I was saying before, no, most of the innovation is not being done by new law firms. It's being done by large law firms, imperfectly perhaps, but that's just the fact. So we start getting away from reality, and I don't like that. I prefer to bring the discussion back, okay, to wider discussions, which is, how can we deliver legal services differently and in new ways to satisfy clients? Okay? Not just because we can, for a specific objective, to deliver legal services more effectively. And obviously those organisations, small, large or medium, who do that in the future, who are able to predict what clients want, will benefit hugely from the big changes that are happening in the legal sector at the moment. So I think we're better, we would be in a better place if we all focused on how can we understand client needs more effectively, how can we identify, rank them, and then innovative ways to shape services to meet those client needs. Using disruptive levers to come up with solutions that clients don't realise they need, okay, is, for me, far more beneficial than just simply listing disruptive levers and saying that we do these things without knowing that it's something clients might value. So I think that would be a more productive discussion if we could move away from this, what I would say is a caricatured, simplistic distinction between law firms, traditional, new, big, and focus on clients, the people or the organisations that actually buy our services. Now that would be new law. I hope you enjoyed it. Please leave your comments under the video if you want, and I will reply to them as long as they're polite. Yes, I hope you found that a thought-provoking discussions. Check out my website as well, teddwyer.com.au. I will be leaving these controversial videos or thought-provoking videos on the site all the time. Thank you.